I knew it. I saw him. I'm like, I thought it was you.
Now can everyone hear me? All right, thank you everybody for coming to the Campaign for Compassion Cannabis Rally. So we're gonna get started here, and our first speaker is one of my heroes, a mom from our group. Her name is Deena Kenny, and she is gonna be our first speaker. Come on up, Deena.
Before I start today, I'm going to be talking about the history of this plant. It's going to be offensive, just so you know, but it is offensive.
Good.
Thank you for all coming today, and thank you for showing support for the many patients who need this medicine, patients who have reached the limit of modern medicine and have nowhere else to turn. As a mother of a child with intractable epilepsy, I can attest to how scary that place can be. But there's one thing that comes up time and time that offers us hope, and that is marijuana, or as I like to refer to it, cannabis. After all, marijuana was a slang term used to create foolish propaganda about a plant that had already been healing people for centuries. A plant that was sold in this very country for 90 years as a medication. From 1850 to 1937, cannabis could be prescribed by any doctor and picked up at any pharmacy in the United States, just like today's medicine. It was FDA regulated, and it was produced by trusted names like Eli Lilly and Park Davis. So what happened? How did this one-time medicine become discontinued and demonized? My research revealed that it had far more to do with its threat to industry than its threat to humanity. As I looked into the history, I could find absolutely no scientific evidence to support the claims that cannabis was dangerous. Instead, what I actually found disturbed me even more. Cannabis was first made illegal through nothing more than ugly propaganda and lies. Feeding upon the fears of racism, the depression, and the prohibition of alcohol, a man from Pennsylvania named Harry Anslinger was named head of the Federal Narcotics Bureau and led a one-man assault on cannabis. He made up stories of axe-wielding men high on weed killing their families. Then he released fear-mongering quotes to the newspapers, quotes such as the following: "Reefer makes darkies think they're as good as white men. Marijuana is an addictive drug which produces in its users insanity, criminality, and death. And the primary reason to outlaw marijuana is its effect on the degenerate races." He continued his madness all the way to Congress, where he gave the following testimony, and I quote, "There are 100,000 marijuana smokers in the U.S. Most are Negroes, Hispanics, Filipinos, and entertainers. Their satanic music, jazz, and swing result from marijuana usage. This marijuana causes white women to seek sexual relations with Negroes, entertainers, and any others." Yes, that was actual testimony. And armed only with this disgusting quote and 2 falsified police reports, in only 1 hour, the House voted in favor of Mr. Anslinger's lies. The Senate took a whole 90 seconds before they voted. So in the span of 61 minutes and 30 seconds, the government altered the course of history and took away any chance any of us had 70 plus years into the future of ever utilizing the healing properties of this plant. Anslinger did have one opponent before Congress that day. His opposition was none other than the American Medical Association, who sent Dr. Woodward to testify, and I quote, "Cannabis is a safe and effective medicine and should not be removed." Did you hear that, Pennsylvania Medical Society of today? Your predecessors, the doctors who actually had experience using this plant, said it was safe and effective. Quite a different story from today's medical societies. We stand before you here today as patients and caregivers who have tried everything else and have nowhere else to turn. While advocating for the opportunity to be able to use this plant in a compassionate manner, we get pinged back and forth between doctors who say there isn't enough data and politicians who say they don't want to play doctor. Please stop, because enough is enough. To the doctors I say, start fighting for your patients, and why aren't you doing this? After thousands of anecdotal stories, 90 years of previous medical usage, over 10,000 research studies published by our own National Institutes of Health, 18 years of current safe usage in medically legal states, and a patent owned by the US government that says cannabis is neuroprotective, which means it protects the brain, not harms it. Why do you not speak up and advocate, at the very least, for compassionate use of this plant for patients who have no options left? All we hear is there is not enough data, and the plural of anecdote does not make data. And to you I say, no, it doesn't. But why hasn't it led to more data? You are the healers, and as healers you should be leading the crusade for all methods of healing that show promise. Certainly allowing a patient to use cannabis in a compassionate manner is better than allowing a patient to suffer and possibly die without the opportunity to even try it. To the members of the General Assembly who say that only the FDA can say what is medicine, and they are not in the business of deciding what is or what isn't medicine, to them I say, no, you are not. But your predecessors put you in that position, not us. Your law is what is standing in the way of the doctors being able to do their job, and it has set back research for years, allowing other countries to pull ahead of us. Had the state and federal governments never listened to Harry Anslinger's lies in the first place, we wouldn't be standing here before you today, because cannabis would have been grandfathered into today's pharmacopoeia right alongside aspirin and penicillin, and we would be buying it at every pharmacy without your interference at all. It was in the states that cannabis prohibition started, and it is at the state level that medical prohibition must be corrected first. We've heard all of your concerns, and we've tried to educate you for almost a year now. And still we wait while you uphold a law that was based not on science, but on the musings of a bigot. An unjust law. An unjust law that allows people to continue to suffer needlessly. And we wait, hearing that to change a law takes a great deal of time. And I would absolutely believe that if this past year I hadn't witnessed one law move through the legislature at what the press described as lightning speed. On January 28th, I sat before the Senate Law and Justice Committee testifying for SB 1182 on behalf of my son. At the same time across the state, a police dog named Rocco was shot in the line of duty. Unfortunately, 2 days later, Rocco died. Knowing that the punishment for killing a canine officer required a steeper penalty, within 6 weeks, not only did Rocco have a law named after him, but it swiftly moved through the House and the Senate and was signed by Governor Corbett at the beginning of July. 5 months from start to finish, and we're still waiting.
Go Deena!
I am glad that they move quickly to protect all future canine officers. I really am. When there is a life at stake, you should move quickly, which is why I'm asking, sorry, you to do the same for our loved ones that you did for Rocco. Lives are at stake here. You know, when I told my daughter about this law, she said, Mom, why did they help a dog before they helped Chris and the other kids? Would any of you care to answer my daughter's question? Would any of you care to explain to her why this state helped Rocco before it helped her brother? Can you explain why other states can help their patients who suffer, but we can't help ours? I really want a good explanation for her, and I really want a good explanation for myself. One that will make perfect sense next time my son is having a seizure and I'm watching him turn blue. But while knowing that kids in other legal states are getting the help we can't get, time is not on our side, so please act quickly. Every year, 55,000 people with epilepsy will die due to a status seizure. These 11 studies dating back to 1947 say that does not have to happen. Every day while our loved ones wake up with excruciating pain despite trying numerous medications don't work. This double-blind placebo-controlled study says that cannabis could help them. And the other study says that using cannabis will drop their mortality rate from opiates by 33%. Several people today will get the devastating news that they have Alzheimer's, while this patent, number 6630507, says that cannabis can help their brains from the plaque that will erase all of their memories. Who owns that patent? The U.S. government. The same entity that says cannabis has no medical benefit has actually patented its medical benefit. Since we the people own that patent, then we the people demand right now that you reschedule it to reflect that. And in the next hour, while you are listening to the rest of these speeches, please consider that another veteran will take his or her own life when this study says they could have been helped by cannabis. Please don't allow this to go on any longer. There is more than enough evidence to suggest that this plant can help. I ask you to please follow the lead of the other 23 states that have done this. Thank you.